I just wanna show you what it feels like. Sometimes I wanna end it all and kill the lights. Crying out for help, but I can still fight. Attacked by my conscience on a chill night. Just picture me rolling.
All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. We are now here at VetTableTalk. You know what I'm saying? Where we actually introduce you to veterans and we let them tell their side of the story. Because I feel we're more of an unappreciated, unrepresented breed. Unrepresented breed. That's a pretty good word. Kind of fucked that up. But we're here. I want you to introduce you. I want you to meet my guest. Tell them who you are.
My name's Giese.
Right, John. Okay. You ready to start these questions?
I am. Yeah, let's do this.
All right, let's fucking do it. All right. So, what did you do in the military?
I was a combat engineer officer, and over the years I served with, saw that representative. Yeah, I served as a combat engineer officer. Over the years I served with 1st Marine Division, 4th Marine Division, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th Marine Air Wings, and 4th Marine Logistics Group.
Oh, shit. A track record. All right. How long did you serve?
I served 20 years. Yeah, just a hair over 20 years. I wanted to make sure that I threw an extra month or two just in the event that nobody could come back and say that, oh, you didn't make your full 20. So I didn't want to give them any excuse to say that I wasn't retired and be able to retire as such.
So what rank did you retire as?
I retired as Lieutenant Colonel.
Ooh, and for those of you who don't know, all right, that's a swinging dick in a room full of enlisted. Okay, if you're in a room with enlisted, that's a swinging dick. Lieutenant Colonel say anything, you say yes, sir.
Yeah, it was kind of funny when I started out. I just knew I had wanted to be a Marine. I didn't have any designs or intentions on sticking around for 20 years. I fully thought I was going to, do my 4 years, and then, as I got going along, I figured, well, maybe I'll stick around till it's not fun anymore. And that point really, never came. I always had a great time, and I always had great people to look up to. And as it related to the ranks, I had no intention of sticking around to being a lieutenant colonel. Yeah. Initially, early on, I really kind of wanted to only get to the next rank so I could tell those guys at those ranks to piss off, and I remember being a lieutenant and wanting to be a captain just so I could tell the captains to, pack sand, or, I wanted to become a captain so I could tell the majors to pack sand. And well, one of the things I learned along life is there's always going to be somebody that's going to be above you, and so if that becomes your goal in life, you're going to be disappointed because you're never going to be eventually the top dog. But
shit, amongst us, you were the people in this room.
As
you were the top dog.
Yeah, as I moved along though, to over the years, as I got further in my career, I never reached a point where it wasn't fun, anymore. But I did reach a point where it had gotten to be where I think I've accomplished all that I ever wanted to accomplish in the Marine Corps. As you move up, especially through the officer ranks, and I would guess amongst the enlisted ranks as well, is that the further you move up, maybe the more responsibility you have from a decision-making standpoint, but you begin to move away from the people that you liked leading in the first place. I really, my best time that I ever had was when I was a lieutenant or a captain, because you had this group of Marines that you could lead and associate with. And as you move further up in the rank structure and responsibilities, you begin to move away from leading those Marines that you enjoyed so much, and you don't have an opportunity to do the things, in my case as an engineer, to be able to do the things I really enjoy doing, constructing things, doing demolitions. Mm-hmm. By the end, you have a laptop, a cube, and operations plans that you're working with, and so it's you don't get to do a lot of things that I really enjoyed doing earlier on in my career. And so by the time I was getting close to 20 years, I knew it was right. It was about time.
Okay. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, and for this next part, how was the family strain on joining the military? Did it help or hinder the family growth process?
Relationship with family is, it's kind of one of those things that's tough, you know. Now, when it comes to my parents early on, your parents are always very, very proud of you. My parents were proud of me, very supportive of me. I come from a long line of people that have served in the military. My father, my grandfathers, my great-grandfathers, and that you know, a lot of that our family tradition of supporting the military or serving in the military stretches all the way back to the Revolutionary War, and it was, but one of those things where service to country and serving in the military was something that was valued, is something that, although not encouraged, you know, they certainly appreciated, and my parents were always supportive and proud of me, you know, when I first joined, and very much interested in what I was doing. Along the way in my career, I ended up getting married and having a family, and my wife has always known me as a Marine. We met while I was a Marine, and she was always very supportive of it. And then the thing is at first, though, that supportiveness can also transition, and by the latter years, it was more and more painful. That support, you know, never went away from my wife and eventually my children and family. But it becomes very, very difficult, very painful, you know, every time you leave, you know, hugging your wife goodbye, hugging your kids goodbye, and understanding that the stakes are so much higher. You know, when I first deployed to Japan, you know, on my first deployment, Japan and South Korea and going to Hong Kong, it's just me. I'm a 22-year-old guy. My only responsibility is to myself. I don't have a dog, I don't have a cat, I don't have a house, I don't even have furniture, so, you know, or anything that I can't afford to lose. But by the time you spend, you know, you build up a family and you have a house and you know, dog and everything else and kids, and now the stakes are so much higher, and it's so much more difficult as you go along. When the kids were small, they don't really have a good perception of time, but by the time, you know, that they're a little bit older, that's all changed, and so it became certainly more difficult with the deployments, and at the time of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, deployments were coming quick. And if you weren't going there, then you were going to go somewhere else. And that time away, you know, can really, you know, wreak havoc with the household. So
it was more of a strain after time.
Yeah, it was definitely more strained,
so
you know, over like time.
Your birth family, immediate family, it helped because like you were part of the pack. You know what I mean? And then with your created family, the family that you started, you know what I mean? Mm. You and your wife started, it started to put a strain over time.
It did. One of the things that I found, though, in the Marine Corps, and I didn't come to fully appreciate it until after I left, is the family that I also had in the Marine Corps, and it's one that I came to miss terribly. Yeah. When I left the Marines, or even as I transitioned from unit to unit, I miss those guys, the friendships that you built. I mean, the friends that I had in the Marines, especially from when I started all the way through, those are friendships that I carry for life. They're family. They know me better than, you know, they've seen me at my best, yeah. My worst, my most disgusting, my most proud, and it's one that when I separated from the Marine Corps, that it's a family that now has been taken away from me. I don't have them anymore, and damn, did I miss them terribly. And because I'd see them every day, you know, and they were part of my family, and those Marines and sailors that I got to know over the years, they no longer became part of my support network. You know, after I left, you know, I could reach out to them by phone call and sometimes by letters, you know, and cards, but yeah, I tell you, it just becomes a huge void in your life when you leave, and And I didn't really appreciate that at the time until after I left.
Yeah, and I can kind of relate to that a lot too, because it was just like certain people, you know what I mean? Certain Marines, sailors, just people you meet along the way, like because you know in Oki you can literally meet anybody. So you got Air Force, you got Army, you got all of them, and there was like these people that just became like key members like of your like tribe, like your family, like these my people. Every time we see each other, we might not see each other often, but every time we run into each other, it's a party. You know, you're like, oh wait, and like literally like it was. I realized the military really started giving me a family that I didn't know I ever asked for when I seen one of my I call him my brother still to this day. He's still my brother, you know what I mean?
Right.
His name is Ham, Darnell Ham. We came up together in Georgia. And what happened was when we joined, you know, the recruiting station, we joined together. So we went to MAPS together, we went to boot camp together, all of this stuff. And obviously, we went two completely different ways. But every time we'd meet up in 29 Palms, we'd meet up in Pendleton,
like
in
you saw each other
Okinawa.
yesterday.
And it was like we saw it. It was like, man, you don't get over, what's up, man? You know what I mean? And it was one of those things where it's like, he's married now. Like, it's great. Like, this man is married and started a family. And like, to see like we were literally two high school kids, like just trying to graduate high school so we can go to the Marine Corps. And he was like so Marine serious. He's still in the Marine Corps. And he was like so Marine serious. And then he just always called me like Showtime. Here comes Showtime, here come Hollywood. You know what I mean? Because I was just like one of them like street kids, way too like metrosexual. I was just into everything, like the way I dress. And here comes Showtime, here you come all the time, you know what I mean? And like, just you speaking on that, like really brought me back to that. It's just like, damn, I'm just saying, that's my boy. Yeah. And right now he's in Virginia. And I was, just thinking about it. I gotta call him. You just brought that up for me. Thank you for that. All right. Since getting out of the military, how well do you think America has done in taking care of vets compared to how well we've taken care of them? Like the VA, anything, you just get it out.
Well, it kind of manifests itself in a couple of different ways. So I'll give you a couple examples. I missed that military family. I missed the Marine Corps family. Missed those friends that I wasn't seeing necessarily every day. And so one of the things I did initially off the bat, and I thought, well, maybe I can rekindle that. And I didn't feel comfortable, real comfortable when I came out. There's this scene in this movie, the Hurt Locker, where the guy is standing there and he's got a shopping cart and he's at the grocery store and he's looking around and he sees a million different items of cereal or a million different items of ice cream, and he's standing there looking around, and it's just overwhelming. And they got this elevator music going on, and I felt that way when I came back from deployments, and I felt that way, I think, as I left the military. I had a tough time really relating to people that, you know, hadn't been in the military. Like, you didn't have like a million different selections of things, or or that wasn't even a concern of mine. You know, like that didn't even hit the scope of the radar of what I was remotely interested in, or what I was, you know, even a concern that just didn't relate. So I wanted to find a place where I could maybe relate to people, and so I went to and joined a veterans service organization, and I went there, and what I found is that I wanted to be around other Marines, sailors, soldiers, airmen, or whatever, and I went there, and this particular group, they had a hall, and they have a bar there, and all the members there drank every day. That's all they did. Drink, and I just, you know, that's not what I wanted to do. And I attended the meetings there, and while I was at, you know, one of the meetings, the last meeting I attended, these guys, Vietnam veterans, these guys are supposed to be brothers, and they ended up getting into a brawl, you know, right in the middle of the meeting. I mean, this is supposed to be a formal, you know, meeting. These guys are brawling, drunk and brawling in the middle of the room, and I'm thinking, I don't want to have no part of this. So I didn't find a support network there. You know, maybe if I was to go to another post, you know, and I didn't find I had anything in common with this veteran service organization. So I ended up looking, you know, different places. But what I kind of notice, you know, among society is nobody, the society, community, my neighbors, doesn't matter who it is, but they don't seem to acknowledge or understand that maybe there's an active war in a lot of ways going on. I mean, we've been at war nearly 20 years since September 11th has happened, but it doesn't. It's an afterthought. It doesn't affect anybody. They don't notice it. They don't see it. You don't report on it on the news. And so what I notice is that it. Other than maybe a brief acknowledgement of thank you for your service or, oh, you're in the military, the conversation immediately moves like that. It's not part of the consciousness, it's not part of society, you don't see it anywhere, it's not discussed. It's almost kind of like an afterthought. And so something that had been, you know, so meaningful to me, I mean, I spent, you know, 20 years in the Marines, something so meaningful to me is probably not so meaningful. And that's kind of a wake-up call to, you know, to me, you know, something that I dedicated my whole, you know, most of my adult life to now is, you know, is a 2-second thank you for your service, you know, let's move on and talk about something else. And so there's not really any sort of support network or really any acknowledgement that I've necessarily found from American society. And it's not part of their consciousness. Organizationally, you know, when you look at support networks for veterans, after, you know, a certain period of time, I had some folks encouraging me, hey, you need to go to the VA, you need to register, you need to go. And the truth is, you know, I do feel after 20 years of humping, you know, all kinds of weight around and sappy plates and, you know, ordnance and everything else, and jumping off of trucks and jumping into trucks, you know, jumping all over the place. I mean, we're pack mules, you know, and carrying all that weight. I feel it now in my knees and my ankles, my hips, my lower back. You know, I get headaches. I get stressed out like everybody else, and so. You know, I had folks encouraging me, go see the VA, go register at the VA. Finally, after some pestering, I did. I went in and I registered at the VA and said, that, pretty much like everywhere else, thank you for your service. So I went through and they said, yes, you served in Iraq, you know, you're a combat veteran, but fortunately you make too much money. So, you know, we can't provide service to you. And if you really had wanted, you know, VA service, you had needed to register, you know, within 5 years of returning from your deployment to Iraq. And I was like, well, I was still in the Marine Corps at the time, you know, like, I mean, how do you register at the VA for VA services when you're still an active member of the military? And they said, well, sorry, you make too much money and you know, you didn't come visit us, you know, since you returned from Iraq. And I thought, well, why would I do that? Because I would maybe then threaten, you know, my retirement in the Marine Corps if I'm going to try and get a disability from the VA, you know. I'm not looking to get, you know, military discharge. I'm just looking for, you know, help me with the, you know, the soreness in my ankles and my knees and you know, my joints. And so they said, well, if you have if you think you have a problem, here's the phone number to the veteran service officer, and you can file a claim, and then you'll be able to receive, you know, certain benefits after you file a claim. And I said, well, how in the hell do I do that? Well, you know, go talk to the veteran service officer, and they can help you do that. What I found is it's not helpful. It's not. There's no way to help you navigate as a veteran, and through conversations with guys that have gone through it, I hear the story. Well, you got to do this or you got to do that, but it's this reliance on tribal knowledge on how to get, you know, medical services that I mean, maybe I deserve it, maybe I don't,
Not
you know,
even
I mean,
deserve.
but
I would say earn it. You've earned it.
I mean, but I shouldn't have to rely on the tribal knowledge of some Vietnam veteran or some other veteran to figure out how to try and get benefits. You know, I hear that point about, you know, you make too much money. Well, clearly whoever is saying that, you know, doesn't live in California. I mean, the cost of living out here, I mean, maybe if I was living in the Midwest somewhere, maybe that's fine, but throwing an arbitrary number, you know, on what my annual income should or shouldn't be, you know, that's my personal opinion. So,
No,
you know, I mean, I don't want to whine, but, you know, if somebody's asking the question, my experience with the VA is they didn't even give me a VA card. You know, they said, you're in the system, you know, file a claim and maybe we'll talk to you later. That's the message I received. And so maybe I'll take some time off from work and go see if I can file a claim. Maybe not, I don't know. I haven't had a good experience. Well, I've had no experience with the VA other than, you know, submitting my paperwork and thanks for coming and thanks for your service. But that hasn't been, you know, much different than I get when I go to the supermarket.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for that. I really do appreciate it, like the transparency and honesty. Because I was trying to explain to them. We were talking about it a little earlier. Like everybody has a really different experience, and that's why we really thank you for coming here, because like a lot of people I've heard from a lot of my friends, like they assume that the VA just takes care of everybody. Like they're like, oh, the military take care of everybody, and I'm like, no, I got friends. Like I was like, my first year I was getting 20% disability. I was living in my car, and like if I didn't run into like some people at school that like knew some ins and outs, I would still probably be there. You know what I mean? Like straight up, I was 20% disability living in my car, and it was just like nothing. I had no help. Like nobody told me nothing. Like it was just like, go figure out. And if I didn't go to school because one of my friends had a great idea, was like, hey, you probably should go to school because they like pay you to do that. And I know like you out here running off $300 a month. And you live in California, so you gotta like try to do something.
Well, it was other areas too. Like at one point in my career, early when I got married, I was gonna look to buy a house. You know, mm-hmm. That's what adults do. We buy houses and stuff. You know, and so I figured, well, I better have a house for my family. And so I went in to see if I could get the VA home loan. At the time, I mean, I couldn't have bought an RV for what they had, so I didn't take the VA home loan because the threshold of it wasn't realistic for the home prices where I was mm-hmm. living at the time, And the other thing that makes me laugh is probably about a year after I retired, I got a letter from the Marine Corps that said that my medical records had been lost. And but we're doing everything in our power to find them, and we'll advise you, when your medical records have been discovered. And well, it's been a number of years since then, and I never got a letter saying that it's been found. I don't know, if it's sitting in some corpsman's footlocker, overseas, but somewhere along the way, my medical records got lost, and so even if I were to go to the VA. I don't have any confidence that there's any copy of my medical records left or that it's complete. I mean, all the work that I found, if you're going to try and get any sort of benefits from the VA, is you got to know somebody that has tribal knowledge of how it works, and then you've got to do all the work to make an argument that you deserve them in the first place. And I don't know. That's my opinion, my personal impression or my experience. I'm gonna tell you right now, I
agree. Like literally, and I've never sat here and said, like, I completely agree with what you're saying. Cause like that is how I got my disability right now. Cause I had no idea. I literally was living in a car, like making $300 a month, and they were like, "You're supposed to get more than that." And I'm like, first of all, I can't sleep at night. You know what I mean? I can't sleep at night, and on top of that, I'm sleeping in the car. So I mean, like, and then I got sent to, cause literally we can get in this. I got recommended by some people to go into Cabrillo, the veteran shelter in Long Beach. And within 2 days of being there, I got kicked out of Cabrillo. Cause somebody while I was there told me like, hey, you should go to school. You know what I mean? Like, go to school. Like, it's really a good thing, go to school. Like, they pay you can have a trade. So you can like work, like when you're in the Marine Corps, you get out, you just work, you know what I mean? And I was like, all right, cool. So I told them that while I was at Cabrillo, and they're like, oh, well, you have to leave. And I was like, I have nowhere to go. And they're like, well, sorry. I mean, that's all I got.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about, it's like 50-year-old veterans, and here I am, I'm 24.
Yeah.
I was 23 at the time. Yeah, I was 23, right? I think it was 2018. I was like 23 at the time. And like living in my car, I had nowhere to go. Like I slept in his grandma's guest room, like until I got like everything right with like GI Bill and stuff. But like it was that real for me. Like nobody like helped me. It was literally, I was like, somebody please help. And it was like nothing. And if it wasn't like for like one or two really key people, like that were just like just kind of threw a whisper my way. And it was like let's see if that works. You know what I mean? Because I just wanted something that works. I got kicked out of, how you get kicked out of a homeless shelter for veterans when you're absolutely sober? Like I literally didn't do any drugs and drink anything. And it's people literally getting high as fuck, stabbing each other, and they're allowed to stay here. But I'm a 23-year-old veteran with nowhere to go. And you're telling me I gotta go. And literally I saw a guy get stabbed the night before. Like it was that real. And I'm like, I gotta go?
Yeah. Yeah. I just haven't had,
Yeah, no,
lot of success.
I agree with you. Because I've never talked about this here. Like all our conversations that we have at this table are literally, it's off conversational basis. Whatever we're talking about is what we talk about. And really, he's one of the only people that know this. It's about 6 to 10 people in this world that know that about me. While I was living in a car, making $300 a month, went to a veteran shelter and got kicked out 2 fucking days later. Like that's like the spit I got in the face. You know what I mean? Like straight up like a loogie hawk in my face from America, like fuck you. And I fucking hate, like, I was like, if this is what it is to be a proud American, I don't want no part of it. If this is what it means to give up fucking, literally my youth going into adulthood for completely selfless reasons. Because at first it was selfish and then it became selfless. Because I just really wanted it. You know what I mean? Just do what I was good at. And it was just like, just being there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And doing Marine shit, you know? And then like, I'm done with that. And like, I had nothing. Like literally nothing, just my car. Everything I owned fit in my car. The context of my car, and like nobody would help me. And it blew my mind. Yeah. So I really do get exactly what like I don't get it to the extent, you know what I mean? But like I'm picking up what you're putting down, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm tracking. Cause like I'd been in those shoes and I was like, is this it? This is how y'all treat? Okay. You know what I mean? And that's what, and the reality was, that's what I thought it was always gonna be. I'm like, it's people getting high here. It's people getting drunk here. It's people fucking stabbing people outside. Like, I just watch this shit. And I'm getting kicked out today because I wanna go to school and get an education. They're like, no, you gotta go. What?
Yeah, that makes some damn sense.
So you put me back in my car, you put me back on the streets.
Yeah.
Because you're like, you want to better yourself.
Yeah, you know. Yeah.
If you want to better yourself, you got to go.
Yeah, you got to go.
No therapy, no nothing. They're like, we want to put you in groups. That's what they said when I first got there, obviously. We want to put you in groups. We want to get you in contact with people so we can raise your disability rating. And then once I was like, I want to go to school. Like, I really actually want to go to school. And they're like, have you ever been to college? I'm like, no. So, like, let me try that. I earned it. Go to school. Yeah. And they go, well, if you're going to school, you can't stay here. I don't have anywhere to go. And they're like, sorry. Don't give me that sad ass, all right? Because like how demeaning that felt.
And my homeless status hadn't changed.
Yeah, exactly. Literally, I just took my shit out of my car, I put him in these cubbies, and then you told me 2 days later, get your shit out of these cubbies and get back out.
Yeah. Tragedy.
Yeah. So thank you for that. Because literally, yeah. Because I want to never forget those days. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like ever. That's why, like, we do shit like, because I want people to tell their story. And I'm sorry for cutting into your story with mine.
No,
that was like, that shit really did. Like, that fucked me up. I hated America at that point.
well, I think the mistake that maybe I made early on is that maybe there was, there's something there. But the reality is, you got to make I had to make my own success. I wasn't able to count on any other support network so far. I'd take my wife's insurance, pay for my, I don't know.
All right, cool. Thank you so much. What are some of your day-to-day struggles that you wish people knew about? Do you think we already addressed them? We already addressed them, we can skip it.
Day-to-day struggles. I for a while, I dealt with, certainly with anger and frustration. Like I was mentioning, I had a tough time, and I still do to a certain extent, relating to other people that haven't been in the military, that haven't maybe gone on a deployment. I think socially fitting back in is always going to be tough. Day-to-day struggles, that's probably a lot of it. I think readjusting and going, getting back into society. I certainly have a lot different perspective, on things, and it's hard to adjust at work, like to a civilian job. The things that seem to make, I had trouble at times adjusting to the things that are a priority at work. Just aren't the same kind of priority that we had. Today there's nobody trying to blow me up. There's nobody going to be shooting at me. There's nobody that there's that level of importance on what represents or constitutes importance. Is different between here and a civilian job, and so I've had to find different ways to adjust to that and make things that are important at work important to me, now, and but it's tough, like adjusting to civilian life and your neighbors and the people that you interact with. Yeah,
you've been programmed so long. This is day-to-day life. That wasn't your I get it, because my day-to-day reaction is not with people like I'm used to it now. Like literally going from fucking teenager to like fucking a young adult. I dealt with people in a certain way. And then now, if I try to do that, like I'll literally get fucking asked to leave.
I mean, it's like little things, like the way that you talk with somebody else, and the jokes, things that you used to think were funny, other people are like, what, are you out of your mind? Like, how is that funny? And the mean-spirited sense of humor and the crazy way that you talk with your friends or the people that you worked with is not the same way, that it works, with your civilian counterparts, or you'll definitely get a referral to HR,
You're kindly asked to leave.
in your civilian jobs, if you tell the same jokes or the same, and it's that those things that also really attracted me to the military, and also kept me for so long, because that sense of humor just was priceless, and it was raw, and I miss that. So maybe those are some things I might kind of consider. So.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much, man. What is something that America needs to stop saying to you or asking you?
I don't. I know some folks get upset about people coming up to them and saying thank you for your service. I don't get too worked up, about that kind of stuff. The truth is that a lot of times folks feel uncomfortable and they don't know what to say, so they'll share that, and they'll quickly change the conversation. I don't get too worked up, about thank you for your service. I realize they're trying to be, in most cases, appreciative or gracious. What I think I kind of get worked up about is when people take a position that veterans or people in the military are victims. There's no victims in the military. I mean, everybody. This is a volunteer force. Everybody signed up. They knew what they're getting into, and if they didn't, they should have paid attention before they ever walked into that recruiter's office, because we're not victims, and things don't just happen to us. The military veterans are there to serve their country at how America chooses to best utilize them. They're not victims. Certainly afterwards, there's some needs that come about as a result of serving, whether it's physical or mental, and I think the country should do their best to help the veterans, help me, help the other veterans. I think they should do their best to do that, but nobody needs to look down on them, like they're to be pitied, and or that when folks insert politics into it and make it, sound as though that, we shouldn't have used the military in that way. Well, I don't, somebody in the military, as a veteran, I understand the government applies this the way that they best know how. I mean, over the years, I did missions that were humanitarian relief. I did construction projects. We did demolition projects. Some of them were in wartime. Some of them were in response to natural disasters. Some of them were, nation building. All of it was important. I can't look at any of the things that I did and say that any of the things that I did didn't mean anything or didn't have a purpose. All of them meant something to somebody, and all of them were valuable, to further our nation's interests. At no point, was I ever a victim. I'd say that if I could, coach anybody in terms of how to approach a veteran, you don't approach them as a veteran. They made a conscious decision. That doesn't mean that they might not need help, but there's no victims amongst us, and I would also coach them to say, go talk to a veteran. I don't want to be treated with kid gloves. I don't want to have anybody, say like, I shouldn't talk to them, or put us on a pedestal. Any veteran that's here at the end of the day is an American first and foremost, and they want to be treated no better, no worse than anybody else, and they're not asking for anything that is special to them. I think go up to them, engage them in a conversation, take it one step. If you truly want to get to know them, take it one step beyond thank you for your service and ask them something, and it doesn't even have to be about the military. Just try to get to know them. I think what you'll find is that, there's some great people, the same great people that I served with, they'll find the same thing in those people. There's some great people out there that want to help others, and anyway, that's kind of what I think.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. What was one dream that came true while you were in the military?
I wanted to travel. I grew up, or at least I was born into a small, I guess, kind of farm town in southern Wisconsin. And being a kid from Wisconsin, I never got a chance to travel and see the world. And you hear about all these places that you're growing up, you go through school, and you hear about them, and I never thought I would ever have a chance to go see some of these places that I had learned about or read about. In many ways, in some cases, I probably didn't even have an interest in it, but I came to appreciate it afterwards. It became a dream of mine to get out and see the world. And the beauty of being in the Marine Corps is they don't necessarily always send you to the garden spots. They don't send you to the number one tourist areas around the world. I was a West Coast Marine for most of my time, and or most of my time in the Marines, and so I mean, I was getting sent to the Middle East. I was getting sent to, not the first place on a lot of people's places when they think they want to go, destinations when they want to go visit. People. But by doing that, I got a chance to see a portion of the world that I think gets overlooked a lot of times. The other thing that I'd say that it also did for me was that I came to really gain an appreciation for how great things are in the United States and how great we have it. And but I got a chance to see a lot of different countries on a lot of different continents, and a lot of countries that people won't normally be able to see. That was kind of a dream of mine, to get exposed to these different countries and cultures, and I'm thankful for that, because I would have never growing up in in southern Wisconsin like that. I would have never had a chance to go to Djibouti and play menu roulette, and we'd get a menu and we'd open it up and put our finger, on the menu, and whatever you ordered is what you're going to get, and because I couldn't speak or read the language, and be able to do something like that, or Iraq, or wherever we happen to be, to get exposed to the food and the culture and everything. I will be forever thankful for having had that opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. All right, what is one message that you have for those who are actively serving before they come home?
One message is, if I could go back and do it all over again, I would say don't wait. I never wanted to admit that I had any physical or mental challenges when I was leaving the service. And I think that anybody that spent some time in the military is likely going to have some challenges when they're leaving. But I grew up in a culture, with the Marines, where suck it is up it is, like unless things were like severely, broken, you didn't go see the corpsman, you didn't go to you didn't report in for sick call or whatever. I mean, that you just didn't do that. And so I would say that, if they're getting ready to leave the military, make sure that everything that you might have a challenge with, no matter how small you think it is, go into medical and get every single thing documented. Please. Everything, get it all documented, because when you don't, and you just go for that, that Motrin, vitamin M from the corpsman, and you just suck it up one more day, what ends up happening is that it's not in your medical records, it's not there, so it wasn't a problem that you suffered while you were in the military. Don't be so damn thick-headed and strong, and proud that you're not going to go in and get that documented in your medical record before you leave. When you have to go to those TAMP and TAP classes, as you're leaving, go find the people that are going to help you figure out how to navigate the VA system, because if not, you're going to be like me, and you're going to be looking for Vietnam veterans that have been around a long time, that have this tribal knowledge of how to work the system to find all the things that you need for VA home loan, the GI Bill, for getting VA benefits, filing. I waited. I was too proud to ask for that kind of stuff, ask for help, consequently, I still find myself in a position where I don't know how to get it. I really don't have any confidence that I will get it, get access to those things. But I'd say, do those things. Make sure you get your medical records squared away. Make sure you have everything documented, regardless of what it is. Don't be afraid to have it put in there, and get a copy of all of it. Don't be like me and have your medical records lost and end up in some Foot Locker in some foreign country. I don't know where that's where they're at, but I know that they were missing, and I don't know that they've ever been found. and then find out about all the resources that are available to you, and don't wait till 5 years and 1 day to go after, receiving them, because there's a suspense date on it. Go after them on day one. While you're on terminal leave or whatever you're doing, go visit them and start hunting down all those resources immediately. You might not need those resources for a couple of years, but at least you're registered, and you'll be able to start working the system, because there is a lead time. It's a long lead time, and you don't know how to navigate that system. So plan for extra time on that. And that's, if I were to tell anybody, that's what I think I might tell them. Also, get every phone number of everybody that you serve with, because years down the line, you're going to want to call those guys up and send them a Christmas card. You're going to want to talk to them on the phone. You're going to want to laugh about that stupid time you were in Okinawa and or wherever you happen to serve, and you're going to want to reminisce, because you're going to miss it. You're going to miss talking to those guys and gals out there, and you're going to miss them terribly. And I know there's social media out there today. I don't, I'm not overly savvy. I'm a Generation Xer. I'm not up on all the Snapchat and the Facebook and Instagram and stuff that other people are using, and so
You look younger than me.
Maybe you'll be able to find them. I'd say I still go back to the cell phones and calling people and being able to get a hold of them. So get all their contact info so you can follow up with them. Get their parents' contact info, because you may move around, but your parents typically don't. And that way, years from now, when you're sitting there and you want to talk about that crazy night when you're in Thailand, you got that phone number you can reach out to. So.
Cool. Thank you so much. And can I get a hug, brother?
Oh, absolutely, brother.
Thank you so much for going through this with me. We both mic'd in.
Yeah.
I think we can get up.
There we go. All right, brother.
Thanks
for asking me to come, man.
Appreciate it, brother.
Yeah.
And this has been another episode of Vet Table Talks. And we got through it. John, thank you so much for everything.
Yeah, brother's having fun.
Y'all have a good one, all right? Stay beautiful.
I talk as if it were my last chance. Look at my soul, I hope you don't see a bad man. Confessions of an artist who never had fans. Strip me of my pride inside. And truthfully, I get afraid in the light. And I'm begging you to save me tonight.